What's up, Kaizen Innovators? This is your Tuesday 2-minute drill, and today we're going to be talking about metrics that matter. A couple of weeks ago, I gave a webinar on goal setting, and it really revolved around first mindset, then making sure that you're really creating smart goals and the hows to get to those goals, literally reverse engineering how you're going to get to those goals. And then lastly, the understanding of grit and being able to pivot when you need to, when you're not necessarily getting to those targets. I got some really good feedback from that webinar, and folks wanted even more meat on this bone. So I wanted to provide a little bit more detail around just how we think about the metrics that matter and how they all tie together. So hopefully you can see my screen. You can see here on the right-hand side where my mouse is profit. Profit is obviously the difference between the amount of money that you collect and your expenses. The three main drivers of expenses are typically rent and facilities, labor, which is typically the most, it's the largest cost, but it's really a large investment. I always look at labor as an investment because you're investing in your team, and that's good. And then general and administrative costs, those are typically how costs are categorized. We're not going to spend really a lot of time on expenses because I want to focus really on the revenue side. So when it comes to revenue, what are the drivers of revenue? Well, certainly your total billings is a driver of revenue, but also an important metric that matters is your collection percentage. And the driver of the collection percentage is based on your payer mix. So how much commercial insurance do you do? How much cash? How much do you do in personal injury or workers' comp or Medicare? That drives your collection percentage. And you should know those numbers. You should know what your collection percentage is so you can multiply that percentage on average against your total billings to get an idea of what you're going to be collecting each and every month. Now, many advanced electronic health records companies, they have great reporting. We use Genesis. Genesis is phenomenal reporting. We know we can like literally pull these numbers up anytime we want. But if you don't have those capabilities, these are really important metrics that you can do simple calculations with to get to an understanding of what drives your revenue. So what drives total billings? Obviously, your billings per visit, and that is driven by clinically necessary care that you're providing to your patient. The other driver of total billings is your kept visits. What drives kept visits? It's scheduled future visits. What determines scheduled future visits? Well, the number of discharges that you have, both doctor and self. I can't tell you the number of times that I speak with a client or a chiropractor somewhere, where I've been speaking or at a conference, and they don't know their data around self versus doctor discharge. This is a critical metric. You want to know how many patients are completing their care plan. This is the true measure of treatment plan adherence. We can use things like PVA to estimate adherence, but at the end of the day, a doctor discharge percentage versus your self-discharge percentage is the true measure of treatment plan adherence. Another driver of scheduled future visits is no future visits. How many visits do you have on your schedule today, tomorrow, this week that don't have any future appointments? We run reports every single day in our practice to understand how many no future visits we have on the schedule so we can get them scheduled. Again, that drives kept visits. Well, it really drives scheduled future visits, which ultimately drives kept visits. New patient scheduling percentage will drive scheduled future visits. Ultimately, what drives new patient scheduling percentage is new patients. And then, of course, marketing initiatives and outcomes and experience. So net promoter score is a way to measure patient experience in your practice. The higher your net promoter score, the more raving fans you have, the more referrals you're going to get. And what I also realize that I need to add here, and I'm going to just do this really quickly, is really your adherence percentage, the number of people that actually make their visits versus cancels and no-shows. So cancels and no-shows and reschedules also drive your kept visit number. So just think about the metrics that matter and what you're measuring in order to ensure that you're accounting for the leading and lagging metrics that ultimately drive revenue and profit. Now, I'm also going to make available to you a spreadsheet. If you don't have any ways to kind of track the metrics that matter, I'm sharing with you the spreadsheet where I wrote down the most important metrics that we track on a regular basis. We track a lot more, but I think for practices that are not currently tracking, these are the things that you want to track, and you want to do it on a weekly basis every single week. At the end of the week, somebody is populating these columns for you, these cells, so you know exactly how you're performing over time. Now, for practices that are a bit more advanced or have more reporting capabilities or have either ChiroTouch or Genesis, There is a company called Blue IQ, which we are super excited to adopt their platform, which has a whole host of reporting and analytic features so you really can understand your data and be that much smarter when making decisions about the business of your practice. So more on that to come. You're going to see a lot of information from me and also Dr. Corey Frogley from Blue IQ talking about how we're helping chiropractors, how they're helping chiropractors. I'm just one of their customers, how they're helping chiropractors do better in practice. And what we learned from that, I'm going to be sharing with you as well. So I'll be trying to help as well. Anyway, that is your 2-minute drill, metrics that matter. Make sure that you go into the new year identifying these key metrics, listing them out, and tracking them so you can see how you perform over time. All right, that's your 2-minute drill. I know we went over a little bit, but sometimes that happens. I'll talk to you all soon. See you next week.